I am so excited. How have you been doing quarantine? I see you've been doing all these guitar things on your Instagram.
Yeah, I figured I would teach myself a new skill while I was locked inside. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say locked inside. I'm not complaining, but I like to keep busy and try to stay creative. And of course, no television shows are filming right now, or very few anyway. So most of us who do that uh, are out of work, so to speak, like a lot of the rest of the country, of course. So I figured, let me try to teach myself this guitar. So when I was going through chemo, I bought myself a guitar that costs $69 and it gets out of tune easily, and I really don't know how to tune it. And I figured, let me try to do this. And I started playing. I thought, oh, that might be fun, and maybe to post it. And people were guessing what it was I was playing. Then I started having drawings where, if I pick your name, like of all the correct entries, they go into a big pot, so to speak, and I pick out a name, and that person and we have a video cocktail together, and I do that once a week. So that's been fun for me, helping keep me sane.
I bet it has been. That's such a cool idea. And I'm sure you're either curious or you know why you're on a podcast called Farm Traveler. So my wife and I love the show Booze Traveler, and I have like an ag background, and we were like, you know what? Let's call it Farm Traveler, just like Booze Traveler.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm flattered.
Yeah, no problem. So I want to talk to you about Booth Traveler and about your new thing, the High Road, which I think is really cool. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But tell us a little bit about your background, kind of where you're from, and kind of how you got started doing the whole Booth Traveler thing.
Sure. It's a story I've told many times because it's a very common question and a good one. I grew up in South Boston, Massachusetts, otherwise known as Southie,
Hmm.
made famous or infamous, if you will, by a few Hollywood movies. And I'm just so proud of the city and the recognition that it's got, it has received,
Yeah.
because it was a great little place to grow up. Although I grew up in the projects, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that for anyone. It was tough, It was a lot of trouble. Cops would come in it every so often, like I mean a lot. But at the same time, there was always a great pool of kids to play sports with, whether it was street hockey or stickball or throwing the football around, pretending you were this player or that player, Bobby Orr or Kari Yastrzemski or, Larry Bird, but I was gone by then, Bill Russell, whoever. But
Yeah.
it was just, it taught me a lot about socialization. And because we weren't, I guess, rich is a way to put it. We were pretty poor. I started shining shoes for spending money, and just charged 10 cents. That's how long ago it was. And then I bumped it up to a quarter. Nobody blinked an eye, and I thought, I should have been doing this the whole time. And go to these bar rooms in South Boston, which had seemingly as a kid a bar every other store or storefront was a bar, it seemed. And just hear these great stories, these guys having a few drinks and opening up, unlike when they were on the street, they wouldn't open up like that. It was a real place of comfort for so many people. And I'd hear great stories, and I thought, wow, there must be a connection to imbibing this thing they're calling alcohol or beer, whiskey, whatever it was at the time. It's nothing fancy, that's for sure. A lot of them were very blue collar, divey type places. And when I grew up and I started acting, what have you, a little bit of hosting, but not really. And I went on this audition, and I thought, oh, this is exactly what it was like when I was a kid. A couple of drinks, some stories about traveling, going this place and that, learning about culture. I just thought it was a wonderful combination, and I was lucky enough to get the show.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, the older I get and the more like I hang out with friends, we have some cocktails and drinks. It's like a free therapy session. Like not necessarily depending on how large your tab is, but you kind of get to know each other, which it kind of helps
Therapy
you.
can be expensive.
It can be. Yeah, that's for sure. So what were some of we loved watching your episodes. What were some of the craziest places that you went? I mean, I know you went to like Mongolia, the Pacific, you went basically all over the world. So what were some of the craziest places and some of the craziest drinks that you had?
Sure. Well, why don't I list maybe 3 or 4 of them, and you tell me what you think is the craziest.
Okay, go for
As
it.
far as location, it can be crazy anywhere at any time. Like Paris, you wouldn't think of that as a crazy city, but the Eiffel Tower, Champs-Élysées, it's all this history and everything else. Yet, the attack in Paris, terrorism, whatever. I mean, anything could happen anytime. So we
Hmm.
always had our heads on a swivel, but at the same time, we really wanted to enjoy the culture and learn about it. So I wouldn't label a place crazy. I don't think that'd be fair, but I did have some crazy drinks for sure.
Hmm.
Uh, Speaking of Mongolia, since you brought it up, we had fermented mare's milk, and it was like it sounds, very pungent, very strong, and you had to drink 3 bowls of it in order to stay on their land because we would sleep on their land, which was just the land, really. They didn't have a title on it. They just get up, these nomads, they just move to wherever they think they should. They plant their stakes, so to speak, until they decide it's time to move again. So that was pretty bad. A lot of people bring that up.
I bet
I
that
also
seems like
had,
it was the most like memorable drink on there. That's so different than any other thing.
oh yeah, it was definitely different for sure. And then I would say I had um, this is one that people bring up a lot. Frog in a blender. I guess I don't know the Peruvian name for it, but in a market in Peru, they have you pick a frog and you slice it, or they slice it and not slice it. They cut the throat and peel the skin off, and then throw the frog in a blender with a bunch of ingredients, and then you drink it. That's pretty wild.
That is a little
And
wild.
yeah, what else? Oh, spit beer in the Amazon. You know, the ladies of the village chew up this root and spit it in a bowl and let it ferment. That's kind of crazy. Any of those you think are crazy enough? Sure,
I
keep
think
going.
all of those that you listed are some pretty unique drinks. It's so funny
Cow
that
blood,
what blood?
cow
Oh, okay. That also sounds a little odd, but I
with
mean,
Maasai warriors, Tanzania,
okay.
real strong moonshine, Zalgiris in Lithuania. That was anywhere between 75 and 90% pure alcohol.
Whew.
That's, can't even fly with it. Can't bring it on the plane because it's so flammable.
Oh, I can imagine. That's probably a smart idea not to bring it on the plane. It's so, did you find it cool that all these different cultures, no matter where you went, kind of had their own take on alcohol and their own kind of history behind it? Because I feel like it's one of those things where it kind of transcends time and place. I mean, wherever you go, they usually have like a local drink or some sort of local alcohol tradition, kind of.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think alcohol probably sprung up relatively equally around the world. I think every culture has found a way to make alcohol out of something. It's not as if one culture invented it and brought it all around. Certainly, distilling was first invented in the Middle East by the Arab culture, and they brought it wherever they went. I guess wine. You know, I mean that's pretty simple. But I think that in places that are remote where people didn't visit, they just found a way to do it, and it's very important to so many cultures because it connects you with yourself and your ancestors. And I think it's called spirits for a reason, at least in English. And there's just a connection between the divine and the earthly when you have a few drinks, or at least you think so. It expands the way you think because it loosens you up. And this, I'm not advocating for excessive alcohol use. I'm just saying there's got to be a reason people invented it pretty much all at the same time, relatively speaking, anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it kind of takes the edge off, kind of makes it more comfortable and kind of more vulnerable, I guess. Now
I think
going,
so.
yeah, exactly. Now going off of some of the drinks. So my wife and I, our honeymoon, we actually went to Bora Bora, and I never,
Oh,
that was the first trip out of the country, and we had watched some of your episodes before. And so we looked and looked for Tahiti drink, and we couldn't find it until we're literally in the airport about to go home, and our flight gets delayed. And we find it in the duty free shop, and we buy this like big old carton of it. And of course, we can't take it on the plane. So we just start drinking it, and it was strong. It tasted like a spiked Sunny D. It was really, really good though.
oh, sure. Wow. The first place you went out of the United States of America was Bora Bora.
It was Bora Bora. Yeah. I mentioned it to her like before we got engaged, like, hey, maybe we could go to Bora Bora. And she was like, I'm gonna hold you to it. And so we went, and it was fun. We went during the rainy season, so we only had like a full day of sun, but it was still so cool to be there and like literally the middle of the Pacific Ocean, just surrounded by one little
Sure.
volcano and all these little huts and the Tahiti drink and the Hinanu gold that we got to. It was a really fun time.
You delivered on your promise.
I did, yeah, luckily. And then another place we traveled was Ireland, and we went to the whole Guinness factory. And I heard people say that Guinness tastes totally different over there. We went there, tried it, and we were like, oh my goodness, it is thick. It is like a soup over there. So that is definitely a thing.
As a friend of mine says, there's a pork chop in every pint.
I like that. That makes sense because it's so chewy.
It's like a meal, right?
It is. One of the bars we went there, I can't remember the name of it, but it had like painted on the side of the bar that it was founded in 1189 AD. And I was like, this bar is older than the United States. This is just crazy.
Yeah, I know that the big tourist bar in Dublin is the Temple Bar.
Yeah.
But I don't know where else you might have gone. I know that in England we went to a bar that was the oldest, I think, in Europe. I'm not sure.
Really?
But really fascinating stuff. It's a fun trip, huh?
It is. It was a fun trip. Yeah, we did the Guinness factory tour, and we did the Jameson factory tour, which the Jameson tour was really cool. It was like really educational, how they show you how they make the whiskey and the scotch and all that stuff. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about, are you a fan of speakeasies? I secretly love speakeasies, just the atmosphere of them. They're so fun.
Love them. There was one in Argentina, Buenos Aires, that was a flower shop. You go in and then you go into the freezer where the flowers might be. There's one in, that was a blast. Really good one, really nice speakeasy too. There's a place in LA called Break Room 86. You go through the back door of this hotel, down this brightly lit corridor with white linoleum floor, and then you open the vending machine and go inside there.
What?
Great room, all about the 80s. There's several rooms actually. Really fun. I just love speakers. So many. I couldn't name them all. There's really great ones though. There's one in Denver that's an ice cream store, and you go in and boom. There's one that looks like a little bookstore, and you just, you put your name in there, hand grabs it, and then it opens up. It's really cool.
That's
I love
awesome.
it because it adds to the experience. It's not just about the alcohol, the content, although I'm a fan of mixology because it's the beautiful blend of science and art. But when they can make it interesting and fun and exciting, that enhances the experience. To me, anyway. I mean, you can't do that with a salad, right? You wouldn't do that with a carrot. It doesn't. With all due respect to the ag people like yourself out there, but there's a place in Athens called Momix, which is short for molecular mixology. One of the most fascinating places I've gone to. If you watch the Greece episode of Booze Travel, you see what I'm talking about. But that was really fun for me, finding these little hidden nuggets, whether they were speakeasies or not. But I've always loved a good speakeasy.
Yeah, they're so fun. We always try to find one, and we went to Savannah about a year ago, and we had
the Pirate's House.
Do what?
The Pirate's House.
Is it on the river? Like right on the river?
Boy, I can't remember. I think so. It's just called the Pirate House or the Pirate's House.
Okay.
And the idea is Blackbeard haunts the place, so it's kind of fun. I don't know if it's exactly right on the water, but anyway, some great places. Not a speakeasy, but fun.
Okay, yeah, we tried to look for it. We put it in the Google Maps, and we drove there, and we were looking around for it. Then all of a sudden, out of this random door, this drunk lady stumbles out, and we're like, hey, is this a speakeasy? She's like, yeah, follow me. She helps us get in there, and it was so fun. And they have jazz playing. They're all in, like, the bartenders are all in, like, fancy suits looking like it's Prohibition. It was such a cool experience.
Sure.
It was so cool.
Oh, that's great. I love that because downstairs at the Pirate's House is what they used to take drunk patrons, and there was a hole in the brick wall, and they would walk them out the hole onto the ship and bring them to supposedly China, hence the term Shanghai. And they would conscript pirates. Not everybody would sign up. It's not like Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, this is going to be fun. We'll chase people and we'll plunder and we'll pillage and we'll have lots of gold and lots of fun and lots of whiskey. It wasn't like that. So that's how a lot of them became pirates.
I bet. That's so cool. In little old Savannah. That's crazy. So So you mentioned ag, and I love learning about like making alcohol and stuff like that because it's such a niche in the ag industry. So what were some things that you learned about alcohol production that maybe you didn't learn before? I mean, you learned how.
Oh, so much.
So
for the most part, alcohol is made from either grains, as you know, fruit, herbs, but in Mongolia, as I've said many times, not a lot of that grows. So they made it from camel's milk or mare's milk. So I learned that people can be very creative when they want to drink. but just the different aquavits and how you can make it, all these things from carrots and blackberries and turnips, which didn't have a great flavor to me, but it's not really about the flavor, is it? It's about the experience. How to home brew beer and all the different great moonshine tactics. I learned so much. And some long-standing traditions, like at the Macallan estate, how they do what they do, or Unicum in Hungary. It's just they've been around forever, and all the different herbs they put in. Of course, they wouldn't tell me because it's a secret, but I
Yeah.
got to see most of the process anyway.
There you go. That's awesome. Have you experimented with home brewing at all?
I have not, but I learned if I ever wanted to. I have a step up now as opposed to before, which I had no interest in or no experience with before. I'm usually on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as making it and all that, I'll make it for myself with friends, cocktails or whatever. But as far as going through all that, too many of you know how to do it way better than I ever would. So I'll let you do it and I'll drink it.
There you go. Leave it to the experts and you can drink it. There you go. That's pretty good. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about your new thing, which is the High Road. I'm excited to learn about it, to see what's going on, because the hemp industry and CBD industry is booming right now. So what
Sure.
kind of got you started doing that, and what's the whole process behind the High Road?
Yeah, that was one of those sharp left turns that life throws you every once in a while. I was doing booze travel, as you talked about, and I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then the next year I went into chemo, and then we didn't do the show anymore. And one of the side effects was I couldn't sleep. Someone recommended CBD. I started trying that, and I thought, well, it works. I bet there are a lot of stories out there. And then I tried full spectrum CBD, THC, just tinctures. And I know that I was blind to the benefits of it. And because so many people were against it and still are, but thankfully hearts and minds are changing. And so I thought I'd, travel around and get stories from people who had similar tales to tell about how maybe it helped them and how they were dead set against it or just didn't know about it. And really how the culture towards that is changing. So that's where we came up with the High Road with Jack Maxwell is the full name of it. And there's a YouTube channel. So that'll a website and a channel, and you can watch the episodes there, and they're coming soon. They'll be on our YouTube channel. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because I met some fascinating people with really great stories to tell. There are people who swore they would never try what they called marijuana or reefer or pot or Mary Jane, all these old school names for it. And then when they started learning about the CBD aspect of it, as we all know, cannabis grows two ways, or as most of us know, I guess. Cannabis grows as either hemp or marijuana. And what the distinction is, hemp has less than 0.03% THC, and marijuana has that amount or more. So it becomes that, right? And supposedly, you can't tell the difference with the naked eye, although some people swear they can. And then that's it. So CBD does not get you high. There are no psychoactive ingredients. And someone explained it to me this way. Think of it as hemp or CBD is relaxing for the body, anti-inflammatory, good for migraines, headaches, what have you. Whatever it is, it's for the body. And THC or marijuana is more affects the head or the mind, the brain, or however you want to say it. So I learned so much. What an education. And I understood that I really came to the conclusion we were lied to back in the day. Of course, I wasn't alive then, but 1937, when it was put on the prohibited list, it was really for economic and political reasons, and unfortunately, racist reasons, more than anything else, really. And then in 1970, Richard Nixon wanted to make his mark as the law and order president. So he classified it right up there with heroin. As a class 1 drug, which it never should have been. But now we're understanding that CBD can be extracted if you don't like marijuana or you don't want to get high or you think it's bad or whatever. You could just use the CBD part of it. It's more effective, I'm told, full spectrum, which is mostly CBD and some THC, but there's a lot of nuances. But some people who swore they never would try it were on it and taking it. and how much it helped them. And it was really great because the commonality was, wow, I can't believe I've gone this long in pain or with this affliction or that, and I could have been getting relief. Now, this is all anecdotal. I'm not saying there's scientific proof, although I believe there is. But these people telling me their stories, and they didn't talk to each other. There's no conspiracy. They wanted, I mean, if you get benefits from it, there's got to be something to it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so great because, I mean, this is just a natural product and it can help so much more as opposed to getting like prescription drugs that a lot of people abuse. And this is something that can naturally help you with a bunch of stuff, whether it's high blood pressure or dealing with chemo or anything like that.
Sure, I agree. I mean, and I didn't smoke. I still don't marijuana before this for multiple reasons. But I'm all for the medicinal side of it. Oh, recreation. If you want to use it, that's totally up to you. But I think we were blinded to the benefits, and now people are opening their eyes. And basically, that's what it's about. It's about being able to take the high road, being able to make that choice to say, okay, this is what it was classified as before, but we really know it's this, and it brings so much relief to so many people.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. That's awesome. And so, I mean, you kind of mentioned it in the YouTube video for this in the trailer, which we'll link for this podcast, and that kind of the farm bill is what really helped this. And that's why hemp started booming. And I know so many farmers that they either switched their operation to growing hemp or now they're just growing hemp as a part of their crops. And so
Sure.
what were some things?
Yeah, I saw that in Kentucky, a big tobacco land over there, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are switching it up because hemp's more profitable. It's better for the earth, so they say. You can turn it over more easily, and there's such a great demand for it as the demand for tobacco wanes, of course. So it's nice to see our farmers getting some great use of their land and still staying solvent and afloat, because we need farmers, and they work so hard. It's such demanding work. I'm glad that farm bill passed. There were two of them actually. The last one was late 2018, I believe. And for them to be able to say, okay, now we can do this, but just hemp. Kentucky's one of the states that there's no usage as of now anyway for the marijuana side of it, but hemp is legal. The farm bill, what that did was, in a nutshell, it removed the prohibition that was on hemp federally. So I guess you can say that it didn't legalize it using technical terms, but they did remove the prohibition that was placed on it. So now hemp is legal everywhere. Herein lies the rub. There have been many instances where law enforcement will see a truckload or whatever amount of hemp and not sure what it is. And they've confiscated these trucks, and they've hurt a lot of people because they're trying to do their jobs, I guess, right? And this is someone smuggling drugs, marijuana, and it turns out to be hemp for the most part. So you got to figure something out, but I know we're trying. At least I hope so.
Yeah, kind of in the beginning stages of getting everybody used to it and kind of getting everybody on board. So what did the production of it look like? I know basically you take like a hemp plant and you kind of crush it to get the oil out. So what did that whole process look like if you've seen it?
Yeah, it's really hard to explain the whole process, and it's certainly technical and scientific, and it might be too much inside baseball, but I know it's going to be at least in one of the episodes that we release, if not more, because it's a very important part of it, and it's so creative how they do it with ethanol, or butane, and everything else. It was fascinating to me because it's a whole new process about something I knew very little about.
I bet. That's awesome. Yeah. I've been trying to get some more hemp producers on the show to kind of see the background on it. But I mean, they're so busy because the industry is booming right now. So hopefully they'll be on eventually. So we'll see. So,
Great.
I mean, with this project, you're wanting to not only inform people, but also kind of change the stigma behind like CBD and hemp and all that stuff. Is that kind of your goal with this new show?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm looking to change the stigma, because that would be me advocating for it, and I'm not. The only thing I'm advocating for is being open-minded.
That's smart. That's smart, especially
Try to
nowadays.
teach yourself. Education is key. Now, when I said earlier, I expressed my opinion that we were misled back in the day about what it is. Now I think a majority of the people agree with me, but 10, 15, 20 years ago, I didn't hold that position because I was uninformed. So if I'm advocating for anything, it's that. Do the research. Listen to the people who are getting benefits from it. And I'm not painting it as some magic cure or balm or lotion or tincture or potion, nothing like that. I'm just saying, as part of learning about anything, this great big entire wonderful world we live in, let's figure out why we're being manipulated, get some history behind it, and maybe you can put away the other medicines. And I'm not suggesting that, but a lot of people on the show have. We had a vet, a Marine vet, who, I mean, he just about gave his life in service to his country. He broke his back, and he was on painkiller, antidepressant, and sleeping medication all at once. And that's a prescription when you combine those for suicide in many cases, or at least in his case. He said he was having suicidal thoughts. And then somebody turned him on to CBD and marijuana, and he wasn't a user before. And he was able to wean himself off of all of those drugs. Now, is that just one scenario? We got many like that. So I'm advocating for at least being open-minded to the possibilities, because life can be better. Hence, the high road.
I like that. That's a good little spiel. I can tell you're very passionate about it, and that's awesome. Because I feel like in today's age, I mean, not everybody's open-minded, but I mean, it's so key in understanding like key issues. I mean, this might not be affecting you, but it's impacting somebody else. So you need to pay attention and, like you said, do the research and just kind of be open-minded to it.
I think so.
That's awesome. So if you don't mind me asking, how's your cancer treatment going?
That's fine. You know, for the most part, I'm done. I would say I did 4 months of intense chemo only, no radiation, a while back, and then I just finished 2 years of maintenance chemo. So I'm good now. Everything's all done.
That's
so
good.
Far, knock on wood, I'm doing all right.
Hey, knock on wood. Well, congratulations. Yeah, we know how that struggle is. My wife's mom had cancer, and then my mom had cancer, like back to back. But luckily, they're both good in remission. So we know how hard of a battle that is. So all the credit to you. Good job.
Well, best of luck to both of them.
Well, thank you. Well, Jack, man, this has been awesome. Touching base with you, learning about the High Road and Booze Traveler. So I have one of my favorite craft beers. It's Florida Cracker from Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, and I want to do a toast. I know you're all about toast on the show. What's one of your favorite, most memorable toasts that you have on there?
Oh, wow. So many really great ones. I mean, there's a million ways to say cheers. Some cultures have several ways to say it. But the toasts that have been the most impactful on me were either personal experiences before the show even started, or things I was taught by the people of the cultures of the world that would have us in and say certain things, many of which I can't remember because they were different languages. But I do remember one. And, this one comes from my great-grandmother. When I was a little kid, she would have her Irish whiskey because she was this beautiful, short little Irish woman. And she was old when I was a little kid. You know, she lived to 101 too.
Oh, wow.
And she would have her Irish whiskey, and I would have generally 7-Up. But I would crack the can, the old pull tab that you'd have to throw away. It didn't stay right there. And I'd let it sit out. I would pour it because even the bubbles hurt my throat. I was so young. But she had these wonderful, brilliant, intelligent, and insightful Irish sayings. And this one became a toast. Now, I'm sure she didn't make it up, but maybe she did. So we'll do this, okay?
All right.
And forgive me for the Irish accent, but it just has to be done that way. For the poor Irish accent, I should say. All right, she would say, Jackie, if you want to be happy for a day, get drunk. If you want to be happy for a while, get married. But if you want to be happy for all time, Jackie, have good friends. Here's the friends, man.
Here's the friends. I like it.
So much.
Yeah, sometimes the most personal toasts are the best. I like that. Well, Jack, man, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being on. I can't wait to see more songs you do on YouTube and to watch The High Road. Thanks so much. Best of luck in the future, man.
Thank you. Yeah, if anyone's interested in any of that, you can find me at Southie Jack. That's my Instagram and Twitter handle, same one, SOUTHIEJACK. I have my own YouTube channel. Just look up Jack Maxwell channel and you see my face, and you can follow all those things there, except for The High Road. That has its own special YouTube channel. You can go to that as well. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll link all that stuff below in our description, and we'll send our people your way. Thanks, Jack. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right. Appreciate it.
Bye.